Beck, Hummels and Sula, the back three. Reina, Hazard, Can, Bellingham and Adeyemi make up the midfield five. Mukoko and Brandt lead the line. For Manchester City, it's Ortega in goal. Stones, Diaz, Ake and Cancelo, the back four. Rodri, Gundogan in the midfield with Mahrez and Foden either side of them. Alvarez and Haaland lead the line. Not long until kick-off for this Champions League clash between Borussia Dortmund and Manchester City. Dortmund lie in second in Group G, and a draw tonight would all but certainly confirm progress into the knockout stages. The hosts go into this game on the back of a 5-0 thrashing of Stuttgart, with 4 of the goals being scored by players 19 or younger. Edin Terzic makes 2 changes as Emre Can and Torgan Hazard replace Rafael Guerreiro and Salih Ozcan. City have already confirmed their place in the next round after a 0-0 draw with Copenhagen on match day 4. However, they do go into this fixture on the back of scoring just 3 times in 3 games, albeit all of those coming in their last game against Brighton. Pep Guardiola makes 6 changes from that 3-1 victory. The players keeping their places are Cancelo, Diaz, Rodri, Mahrez and Haaland. To the lineups in full for Dortmund, it's Kobel in goal, Schlotterbeck, Hummels and Sula the back three. Reina, Hazard, Can, Bellingham and Adeyemi make up the midfield five. Mukoko and Brandt lead the line. For Manchester City, it's Ortega in goal, Stones, Diaz, Ake and Cancelo the back four. Rodri, Gundogan in the midfield with Mahrez and Foden either side of them. Alvarez and Haaland lead the line. Not long until kick-off for this Champions League clash between Borussia Dortmund and Manchester City. Dortmund lie in second in Group G, and a draw tonight would all but certainly confirm progress into the knockout stages. The hosts go into this game on the back of a 5-0 thrashing of Stuttgart, with 4 of the goals being scored by players 19 or younger. Edin Terzic makes 2 changes as Emre Can and Torgan Hazard replace Rafael Guerreiro and Salih Ozcan. City have already confirmed their place in the next round after a 0-0 draw with Copenhagen on match day 4. However, they do go into this fixture on the back of scoring just 3 times in 3 games, albeit all of those coming in their last game against Brighton. Pep Guardiola makes 6 changes from that 3-1 victory. The players keeping their places are Cancelo, Diaz, Rodri, Mahrez and Haaland. To the lineups in full for Dortmund, it's Kobel in goal, Schlotterbeck, Hummels and Sula the back three. Reina, Hazard, Can, Bellingham and Adeyemi make up the midfield five. Mukoko and Brandt lead the line. For Manchester City, it's Ortega in goal, Stones, Diaz, Ake and Cancelo the back four. Rodri, Gundogan in the midfield with Mahrez and Foden either side of them. Alvarez and Haaland lead the line. Not long until kick-off for this Champions League clash between Borussia Dortmund and Manchester City. Dortmund lie in second in Group G, and a draw tonight would all but certainly confirm progress into the knockout stages. The hosts go into this game on the back of a 5-0 thrashing of Stuttgart, with 4 of the goals being scored by players 19 or younger. Edin Terzic makes 2 changes as Emre Can and Torgan Hazard replace Rafael Guerreiro and Salih Ozcan. City have already confirmed their place in the next round after a 0-0 draw with Copenhagen on match day 4. However, they do go into this fixture on the back of scoring just 3 times in 3 games, albeit all of those coming in their last game against Brighton. Pep Guardiola makes 6 changes from that 3-1 victory. The players keeping their places are Cancelo, Diaz, Rodri, Mahrez and Haaland. To the lineups in full for Dortmund, it's Kobel in goal, Schlotterbeck, Hummels and Sula the back three. Reina, Hazard, Can, Bellingham and Adeyemi make up the midfield five. Mukoko and Brandt lead the line. For Manchester City, it's Ortega in goal, Stones, Diaz, Ake and Cancelo the back four. Rodri, Gundogan in the midfield with Mahrez and Foden either side of them. Alvarez and Haaland lead the line. Not long until kick-off for this Champions League clash between Borussia Dortmund and Manchester City. Dortmund lie in second in Group G, and a draw tonight would all but certainly confirm progress into the knockout stages. The hosts go into this game on the back of a 5-0 thrashing of Stuttgart, with 4 of the goals being scored by players 19 or younger. Edin Terzic makes 2 changes as Emre Can and Torgan Hazard replace Rafael Guerreiro and Salih Ozcan. City have already confirmed their place in the next round after a 0-0 draw with Copenhagen on match day 4. However, they do go into this fixture on the back of scoring just 3 times in 3 games, albeit all of those coming in their last game against Brighton. Pep Guardiola makes 6 changes from that 3-1 victory. The players keeping their places are Cancelo, Diaz, Rodri, Mahrez and Haaland. To the lineups in full. For Dortmund, it's Kobel in goal, Schlotterbeck, Hummels and Süle the back three. Reina, Hazard, Can, Bellingham and Adeyemi make up the midfield five. Moukoko and Brandt lead the line. For Manchester City, it's Ortega in goal, Stones, Diaz, Ake and Cancelo the back four. Rodri, Gundogan in the midfield with... We'll leave that there because we're now underway for... Maxwell. Joining me in the commentary booth today is Harry Jones, and well, both these sides seem to be starting a very attacking lineup. Are we expecting a tight game today, Harry?
I think it's going to be very free-flowing, isn't it? The way the two sides are set up, I think it's definitely set for goals, as the reverse fixture already showed us. So, like we said, the two sides very attacking. City opting for the two strikers and the two in midfield, so I feel they can play. They can go to midfield. Really upset for much to do. City Dortmund playing with three defenders and then pretty much just that way Chan in terms of defensive players. The rest are all attacking minded players, so definitely setting up to go for it. That's what we like to see. We want to see an open game, we want to see lots of goals and action, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be an absolute cracker today. If you did miss the lineups in the earlier preamble, we'll go through both sides for you now. So for Dortmund, it's Gregor Kobel in goal, Schlotterbeck, Hummels and Süle the back three. Reina, Hazard, Can, Bellingham and Adeyemi the midfield five, with Moukoko and Brandt leading the line. For City, it's Ortega in goal for his first appearance in a City shirt. Stones, Diaz, Ake and Cancelo the back four. Mahrez, Rodri, Gundogan and Foden the midfield, with Haaland and Alvarez up top. And here is the Argentine finding Riyad Mahrez on the right-hand side, goes back towards Rodri. Maybe as expected, City having the majority of the possession in these early exchanges. If you did miss the results in the earlier games in the Champions League, finished Salzburg 1, Chelsea 2, and Sevilla 3, 10-man Copenhagen 0. Of course, that's a game between Sevilla and Copenhagen, the other two teams within this group. Cancelo tries to find Foden, intercepted by Süle. Adeyemi goes back towards the German, lifts it down the field, headed up rather than forward by Gundogan. Bellingham, Can I should say, loses out, but then he'll find Julian Brandt. There's an opportunity here for Dortmund as Brandt sets off Reina. Not much of the way support to his right, then tries to find Brandt to get an opportunity, cleared away well by John Stones, and then Gundogan's there to mop up. It was a really enticing move from Dortmund. They got forward quickly. Maybe Brandt should have hit it first time though.
Yeah, you think he could have done, couldn't he? But he did have the options in the area to pull it back, and that's what he wanted to go for. So can't really blame him for pulling it back. The options were there. Jude Bellingham was arriving as well. I think he would have been the better option for his team. He didn't really know that he was arriving. Koto was there, didn't know that Bellingham was right behind him. So I can't blame him for taking it back. Bellingham was in the better position to have a strike on goal, but very good signs early on from Dortmund. They were looking to take the game to City. They wanted to catch them out on the break. I think they can definitely beat them numbers going forward.
Yes, they really do look dangerous at the moment, Dortmund, whenever they come forward. As Giovanni Reina, of course, his father, former City player, Claudio Reina. He's gone down here under a tackle by Nathan Ake. Will be a free kick for Dortmund just inside their own half. We'll keep you up to date on all the goals in this game, the other games in the Champions League, alongside the two games in the Championship. With the Coventry versus Rotherham starting 15 minutes before the rest. That game still currently goalless. As the free kick is taken short, finds Mats Hummels. Can towards Süle, and towards Hummels, under pressure from Haaland, who we haven't really mentioned in these opening 4 minutes or so. Yet to have a touch of the ball. Of course, formerly of Dortmund employment, the Norwegian. And it might be a bit of an understatement to say that he's hit the ground running for City this season.
I've never heard really. I've never seen a player walk into a league and dominate it the way he has done so far. He just break away from a big attack and just break it down. Phil Foden will get he's a second person in the world that can stop him the way he's playing right now. Everything he touches ends up in the back of the net. 18 goals in the Premier League already this season. That's what we touch on myself. Definitely the best players on the planet, as we said.
Here's Ake for Manchester Manchester City. Looking to get away from Mukoko. Now with Stones. Finding Mahrez. Back towards Stones again on the right-hand side. Trying to press further and further up the field. Stones towards Diaz. Now with Ake. Under pressure from Bellingham. Gets all the way back towards Ortega. Now with Diaz once more. Triangle football from City to keep hold of possession, but being forced further back. Gundogan, Diaz, Rodri, looking to spread the ball towards the left-hand side in Ake. This is good football from the citizens. Now with Ake to find Phil Foden. Here we go with Ake towards Cancelo. Picked up Adeyemi. Ake will help his teammate out. Goes all the way back towards Ortega. With Diaz once again, and Dortmund, they're pressing from the front. They're trying to hold their shape, and City, they're struggling to break down this this Dortmund side so far. But you would also say that Dortmund are most of the time struggling to even get close to the City players.
Yeah, they are, and I think they're just sort of trying to break them down, but in this Dortmund formation, they're sat so disciplined, aren't they? And they're so rigid in the way they defend. It's going to be very hard for them to break them down. They need to move the ball quickly, City. Look how many yellow shirts there are back here already.
Gundogan trying to find Alvarez. It was inexplicably left by the Argentine as the ball forward tries to find Adeyemi. Cancelo loses out to Adeyemi. There's an opportunity here for Dortmund once again. Adeyemi taking on Ake, tries to dribble forward. Has he been fouled by Cancelo? He has. That will be a free kick, and I think the Portuguese fullback as well is going to be the first man to pick up a yellow card in this one.
Yeah, he is, and it's early on, isn't it? So it's definitely not what Pep Guardiola wants to see from his left back, a player who's so crucial to this City side. He needs to make sure that he's on it now for the rest of the game. He can't afford to give away any cheap fouls, which City, they do like to employ that tactic of giving away cheap fouls, don't they? When they need to break up the game. It's something we've seen from a Pep Guardiola side time and time again over the years. And now Cancelo has to be very, very careful. He's got the best part of 80 minutes now on the booking. Sergio Gomez out already because he was suspended from the last game for his red card. It's early warning signs for Pep Guardiola.
Yes, it is. And so really did not need to dive into that tackle because Ake looked like he had Adeyemi relatively covered. As we now wait this free kick to be taken. Dortmund have had the lion's share of the chances, despite not having a great deal of possession. The closest they came was Karim Adeyemi breaking down the right-hand side. He putting a dangerous cross into the area, and 17-year-old Yusufa Makoko got on the end of it, but his effort, first time from around 10 yards, went wide of the mark. City, despite having all the possession, have created next to nothing. Closest they came was a free kick from Phil Foden right at the end of the half, finding Ake, whose header went over. Half-time, it's Borussia Dortmund 0, Manchester City 0. Dortmund have had the lion's share of the chances, despite not having a great deal of possession. The closest they came was Karim Adeyemi breaking down the right-hand side. He putting a dangerous cross into the area, and 17-year-old Yusufa Makoko got on the end of it, but his effort, first time from around 10 yards, went wide of the mark. City, despite having all the possession, have created next to nothing. Closest they came was a free kick from Phil Foden right at the end of the half, finding Ake, whose header went over. Half-time, it's Borussia Dortmund 0, Manchester City 0. Dortmund have had the lion's share of the chances, despite not having a great deal of possession. The closest they came was Karim Adeyemi breaking down the right-hand side. He putting a dangerous cross into the area, and 17-year-old Yusufa Makoko got on the end of it, but his effort, first time from around 10 yards, went wide of the mark. City, despite having all the possession, have created next to nothing. Closest they came was a free kick from Phil Foden right at the end of the half, finding Ake, whose header went over. Half-time, it's Borussia Dortmund 0, Manchester City 0. Dortmund have had the lion's share of the chances, despite not having a great deal of possession. The closest they came was Karim Adeyemi breaking down the right-hand side. He putting a dangerous cross into the area, and 17-year-old Yusufa Makoko got on the end of it, but his effort, first time from around 10 yards, went wide of the mark. City, despite having all the possession, have created next to nothing. Closest they came was a free kick from Phil Foden right at the end of the half, finding Ake, whose header went over. Half-time, it's Borussia Dortmund 0, Manchester City 0. Dortmund have had the lion's share of the chances, despite not having a great deal of possession. The closest they came was Karim Adeyemi breaking down the right-hand side. He putting a dangerous cross into the area, and 17-year-old Yusufa Makoko got on the end of it, but his effort, first time from around 10 yards, went wide of the mark. City, despite having all the possession, have created next to nothing. Closest they came was a free kick from Phil Foden right at the end of the half, finding Ake, whose header went over. Half-time, it's Borussia Dortmund 0, Manchester City 0. Dortmund have had the lion's share of the chances, despite not having a great deal of possession. The closest they came was Karim Adeyemi breaking down the right-hand side. He putting a dangerous cross into the area, and 17-year-old Yusufa Makoko got on the end of it, but his effort, first time from around 10 yards, went wide of the mark. City, despite having all the possession, have created next to nothing. Closest they came was a free kick from Phil Foden right at the end of the half, finding Ake, whose header went over. Half-time, it's all the possession, have created next to nothing. Closest they came was a free kick from Phil Foden right at the end. We'll leave that there because we're now underway for the second half of this Champions League fixture between Borussia Dortmund and Manchester City. It's goalless after the first period of 45 minutes in a game that's lacked in chances, particularly from a Manchester City point of view. Dortmund created a fair bit more, but were really unable to realistically test Ortega in the City goal, despite the keeper making a handful of saves. And it's myself, William Maxwell, in the commentary booth alongside Harry Jones this evening. City try and bring the ball forward down the left-hand side. There are a couple of changes to inform you of. Maybe one that's slightly surprising in the sense that Erling Haaland has been replaced. Bernardo Silva has come on in his stead, whilst João Cancelo is been replaced as well. Manuel Akanji coming in for him instead in the left-back position. Thoughts on those changes, Harry?
It's very interesting. He's bold from Pep Guardiola. Haaland, obviously, that one freak chance that goes to his feet. There's not one person on the planet he wanted to go to ahead of him. score a goal out of absolutely nothing, like I mentioned in the first half. So it's definitely interesting, but maybe Pep wants to see a little bit more fluidity in their play, which they were really lacking in the first half. There's no surprises why Cat Sullivan after his horrid first half, he really looked a shadow of it for himself.
Yeah, so as City come forward here with Riyad Mahrez trying to get away from Hazard. He finds Gundogan, shifted backwards by Emre Can. Akanji will now find Diaz to his left. I will just run you through the team lineups in just a moment. But City still on the attack here with Silva finding Foden. He gets across in, blocks well by the retreating Jude Bellingham. There will be an early corner kick for Manchester City. So in regards to lineups, so Dortmund is Kerbel in goal, Schlotterbeck, Hummels and Süle, the back three, Reina, Hazard, Can, Bellingham and Adeyemi, the midfield five, Moukoko and Brandt up top. For City, it's Ortega in goal, Stones, Diaz, Ake and Akanji in defence, Rodri, Gundogan, the central midfielders, with Mahrez and Foden either side, Silva playing behind Julian Alvarez up front. The corner kick has been dealt with by Borussia Dortmund as Bellingham almost managed to break through a tight area, but he's been tackled by Rodri, furious that the foul hasn't gone his way as Foden tries to find Alvarez. It's behind the Argentine. Schlotterbeck then finds Süle. Under pressure from Phil Foden. Plays it down the line for Adeyemi. Find Moukoko, instead tries to take on Nathan Ake. He utilizes his pace down the right-hand side. He's got a good amount of acceleration, the youngster, and he'll try and take on Ake. Brings the ball forward, quick feet. Not much in the way of movement or support. Eventually finds it in the form of Niklas Süle. Under pressure from Ake, then easily tackled by the Dutchman. And the clearance then by Ake comes off Süle. And Adeyemi has managed to keep that ball in play. He has not. That'll be a throw-in for Dortmund on that far right-hand side. It's an issue really with Süle whenever he comes forward. He's such a man mountain of a player. Just doesn't really have the dexterity or mobility in the key areas.
Yeah, he's definitely a natural centre half, isn't he? So when he does maraud forward, he does look slightly out of place, but he's doing his best to contribute when he needs to in that final third, and just trying to overload this City defence. There's a nice screen there of Jack Grealish maybe getting up to go and warm up. He's the sort of player that this game might be crying for. As one would imagine he can produce that additional flair and just that bounce in the final third might be something that City needs.
Stones tries to break down the right-hand side. He's well dealt with by Jude Bellingham. As Hazard will take the throw back towards Schlotterbeck. Now plays down the left, intending for Reina. Well tackled again by John Stones. As Alvarez finds Gundogan, he's let that squirm underneath his feet, and Reina will try and break down the left. Reina, really good tackle by the former Borussia Dortmund man, Manuel Akanji, and he's won a throw-in for his troubles as well. He might have left a foot in on Gio Reina. Will be a throw-in for City, but a stoppage in play at least for Reina to try and recover. It's good acceleration from the American. For me, that's a fair tackle by Akanji. He's very powerful.
Yeah, he's definitely come in with a fair amount of force, hasn't he, which is going to be frowned upon, but I think definitely a fair challenge. I'm not saying Reina went down easily or went down looking for anything. I'm saying it wouldn't hurt because he hit it pretty hard, but I'm just saying that it definitely was a fair challenge. He won the ball, wasn't any sort of malice. The studs weren't up, so yeah, fair challenge.
Silva tries to break forward. His pass well blocked by Emre Can. Full to Niklas Süle. Makes the clearance down the line. Rodri aiming for Alvarez, intercepted by Hummels. Now with Süle once again. Tries to play it down the line. Well blocked by Nathan Ake. It will be a throw-in for Borussia Dortmund midway inside their own half. Looks like there's another goal to tell us about in the Champions League there, Harry.
Yes, there's a second coming over in Croatia. AC Milan have doubled their lead. Rafael Leao, a man who's firing all cylinders this season, has given AC Milan a 2-goal advantage.
Is Brandt back towards Mats Hummels. Still our game, the only one of the Champions League fixtures without a goal so far. As Adeyemi goes back towards Süle. Now with Hummels once again. Crossfield towards Schlotterbeck. And it looks like the game is getting further away from Juventus. It's now 4-1 to Benfica. Rafa Silva has got the fourth for the Portuguese outfit there. And well, Juventus season's really going from bad to worse. It's looking increasingly likely that they're not even going to qualify for the Europa League, let alone get out of their own group. And Silva, away from Schlotterbeck, couldn't find a man in sky blue, and still City really struggling to get the key passes in the right areas as Bellingham finds Bakoko away from Diaz, now with Reina inside the area, looks for support, puts it into the area, it's past him, Adeyemi tries to get a shot away, well dealt with by Ake, has support in Brandt and Hazard, he's taking his time, then Hazard will get a shot away, Bellingham tries to get an effort as well, Mukoko tries to get on the end of it, and it's well dealt with by Stefan Ortega, watched it all the way and pounced upon it when he had the opportunity.
Yeah, really good there from Ortega, but very shaky defender from Manchester City. Expect them to clear that a lot sooner than what they did. Dortmund were allowed a couple of opportunities to get back at them. And in the end, Bellingham just couldn't get it on the turn. He tried to get it goal bound. Mukoko was offside at the end.
Yeah, it was a window counter to manage to get on the end of it, but it was well defended and well gathered in the end by Ortega, who's done well so far in the City goal. As Foden has an effort from the edge of the area, way over the crossbar, still yet to test Kerbal in the Dortmund goal, as we're seeing Kevin De Bruyne getting warmed up. I'm assuming it's not going to be too far long until we actually see him come onto the field of play, considering the real lack of creativity that we're seeing from Manchester City.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's prime Kevin De Bruyne. His class and touch in the final third. He just makes everything too. They look a shell of themselves when he's not on the field. And it's a little bit worrying that they rely on him that much. But when he's a player as good as he is, I think you're going to have to rely on players like that to drag you through games like this when things just aren't going your way.
Really are struggling to break down what's turning out to be a very stubborn Dortmund defence as Mahrez holds off Schlotterbeck. Schlotterbeck's done really well to tackle back and find Julian Brandt the back heel, find Schlotterbeck, who's been caught by Rodri. That will be a free kick, and I think he might have come off worse for wear there, the Spaniard. He's down on the deck, I think touching the midriff. It looked like a heavy collision between the two. I don't think Schlotterbeck's done too much wrong there. Rodri just trying to hit the quicker, and he's just been winded by that collision. Definitely a foul in favour of the Dortmund man. Rodri still on the deck receiving necessary treatment. I mean, you mentioned earlier on that it didn't look like there would be a comeback for Maccabi Haifa. Well, there still might be a chance, as it's now PSG 4, Maccabi Haifa 2 in Paris. We're still waiting on confirmation of that goal scorer. Typically, as I say that sentence, the goal scorer is then confirmed to us. It's Abdoulaye Seck, who's got his second of the game there. It's very unlikely, of course, that they will be able to pull that back against the mercurial talents of the PSG squad. Who knows, there still might be an opportunity for Haifa to get back into that one, as our pictures focus in on Erling Haaland onto the bench. Assuming the only reason why he could have been brought off is to be rested for the league fixtures, because we have to take into account City are already through from their group.
Yeah, they are. It's similar to the way they were playing against Copenhagen. Just things weren't going their way. They missed a penalty, had the goal disallowed from Rodri for that wonder strike. Just things aren't ticking for them in the Champions League at the minute, and it's a little bit worrying as to people looked at this season as the year Pep will finally do it for Manchester City, but things are going in the group stage. It's on into the knockout fixtures. Year.
Hazard's been tackled by Stones. Now Mahrez will break down the right-hand side, tries to skip inwards. He's poor control. Brandt will find Makoko, has an overlap in Reina. Zed tries to find Bellingham. Adeyemi's in acres of space if he can be found. And Chan will try and thread him through. Really well defended by City. They got players back quickly and played the offside trap to perfection to make sure the attack could not break forward. But that was dangerous moments for Manchester City, because if Bellingham could get it out of his feet and find Adeyemi, he was in acres of space on that right-hand side.
Yeah, he was. Just in that situation where they're being carved open way too easily, City there. It's the danger when you're throwing bodies forward, trying to desperately get into a lead, and then you leave yourself exposed at the back. And with the whole host of attacking talent that Dortmund have on the field right now, they're leaving themselves in a situation where they can really be punished. And right there, if that ball went through, you'd back Adeyemi. I mean, he missed the chance in the first half when he had a really good opportunity, but in that situation, absolutely marauding towards Ortega there, you'd back him.
So Manchester City, the throw, finding Alvarez, just down to Stones, now with Mahrez, who aims to try and bring this ball further up the field. He has been fouled, so it will be a free kick, which Mahrez takes short and quickly back towards Rodri. And Bernardo Silva with half a yard of space. Through ball towards Foden. It's a lovely pass. Foden tries to play it ball across it. Forcing Gundogan. He has an air shot. Mahrez skips inside. Goes down. Is that going to be a penalty? It is. It was a lazy leg by Emre Can, trying to get there in front of Riyad Mahrez. He went down over it. Clear penalty. And Davide Massa had no hesitation before pointing to the spot.
Yeah, it's an easy penalty there for Manchester City. Emre Can will be absolutely kicking himself the way he just dangled that lazy leg out. Mahrez felt the contact. He's always going to go down there, isn't he? Very, very easy for Manchester City now to finally get themselves in the lead potentially. But we did see it last time out against Copenhagen. Riyad Mahrez missed the penalty to potentially put them in the lead. Will he be the man to step up to take this one?
Yeah, that will be the question on everyone's lips. Is he going to be the man to take this? It does look like it will be Mahrez to have another bite of the cherry. Can't confirm Shakhtar Donetsk have equalised against Celtic, and Mikhailo Mudryk getting the equaliser there for the Ukrainians. And a big moment in this game for Manchester City. Can they get on the score sheet? It's Mahrez versus Kerbal. We wait for Davide Massa to blow his whistle. He has. It's the Algerian Mahrez. It's saved by Kerbal. Tipped onto the post. Brilliant goalkeeping by the Dortmund shot stopper. And the ball is cleared away. It's another penalty miss for Riyad Mahrez. That'll surely weigh on his mind. And Dortmund might try and break forward here. Moukoko is fouled. That'll be a free kick. And I think it'll be brought back for a yellow card as well. Not sure who that's gone to, whether it be Gundogan or Silva. Is that a bad penalty or a good save?
I think it's a great save. The penalty was placed in the corner. He hit it with a decent amount of power, but it's just good goalkeeping. He just guessed the right way, didn't he, Kerbal? Did really well to stand his ground and wait for Mahrez to make the decision. And can't really take anything away from Riyad Mahrez there, but you just got to think maybe a player missed the penalty last time out, went into a high pressure situation. They need the goal. They've been chasing it all game. They've been second fiddle all game, really. They've been outplayed by this Dortmund side despite having the majority of possession. And I understand Riyad Mahrez won it, but in situations you just take it away from him the way he missed the last one. I'm not really sure whether anyone else could have done any better the way Kerbal saved that one, though. But yeah, we remain level somehow.
Yeah, and surely that will kick Dortmund up a few gears as well. And might do the same for Manchester City as Alvarez is tackled by Schlotterbeck, cleared away by Hummels. Stones beaten in the air by Reina. Bellingham's flick on will find Moukoko. Supporting Adeyemi, who breaks down the right-hand side. Only really Reina in support in the area. Gets a cross in, flicked away, falls to Brandt, who has support in Hazard. Turns away from Mahrez, puts it back in towards Moukoko. Headed away by Diaz. Back now with Brandt once again. Turns away from Gundogan. Will find Torgan Hazard to his left. Hazard, overlap in Reina, who tries to get away from Akanji. Holds on to it. Good play by the American. Back towards Hazard. He goes for goal. Plenty of power behind it. Always rising. He goes comfortably over the crossbar.
Yeah, it was nice there, wasn't it, from Hazard? He just sort of got it out of his foot, didn't want to take any time, and just snapped at it as we just see a replay of the penalty. Actually, I take it back. It's not a very good penalty from Riyad Mahrez. Does not find the corner at all. Look, just almost goes straight down the middle. I mean, Kerbal, all he has to do is guess the right way, and he's saving it, and that's exactly what he did. So, fair play to the goalkeeper, but Riyad Mahrez, after seeing it, I was going to say you can't really blame him because it was a good taken penalty. After the last one, he missed it. I have no idea why they haven't taken him off it.
Mahrez has knocked the ball down here for Gundogan as City come forward. Gundogan finds Riyad Mahrez. His pass cut out by Julian Brandt, and Brandt tries to find Adeyemi on the right-hand side as AC Milan, well, they've converted a penalty of their own. Olivier Giroud finding the score sheet there to make it 3-0. Adeyemi towards Moukoko under pressure from Akanji, eased off it. Fantastic defending by the Swiss international, and City will clear the lines. But suddenly this game is far more stretched, Harry.
Yeah, it is. I think after that penalty miss, both sides really believe they can go on and win it now. City motivated to sort of turn over their wrongdoings, and Dortmund seeing it as like a lifeline. So both sides have their own sort of motive to now push and go for this game, as in the first half it really did fall flat.
Rodri finding Stones, moving it towards Mahrez, back with Akanji. Find Ruben Diaz. Gundogan now on the left-hand side. Bernardo Silva. Breaking forward is Foden. His cross in takes a big deflection. They're appealing for a handball. Doesn't look like it's going to go their way. The clearance is made, finding Julian Brandt. Now Dortmund will come forward once again. Reina in support to his left. Reina, Bellingham breaking into a yard of space, and he'll try and get away from Ruben Diaz, who's no slouch either. Diaz will shepherd Bellingham off the ball. He's appealing for a throw-in or free kick. It's not going to go his way. It looks like it might be a throw-in instead. Not sure who that's going to go to. As we're seeing another replay of that earlier penalty shout from Dortmund. It does clearly come off the chest of Niklas Süle. There's no doubt in my mind that penalty was never going to be given in favour of Manchester City. Dortmund do whatever they can to press City further and further back. You look at the bench for Borussia Dortmund, they've had to name one man shy due to various injury issues. They have some attacking talent on the bench in the form of Anthony Modeste and Daniel Mullen. But after that, you struggle to see too many names that you think are going to be game changers.
Yeah, they're really shy of quality on the bench. I mean, Anthony Modeste got that exciting equaliser in that big match at the top of the Bundesliga against Bayern Munich, and then Daniel Marlin really hasn't hit the ground running since his time at Borussia Dortmund. And you just think what a different game it would have been if the likes of Rafael Guerreiro, Marco Reus, Thomas Meunier, if they were all fit and ready to play, they could be real game changers to come into this side and add a bit of flair and maybe just run some tired legs off.
Let's see the replay of that penalty save. Morris, he went for power. Brilliant save by Kerbal. Got the fans right behind him. You can't say that Morris is in a good run of form at the moment. He's struggling to cement a starting place on that right-hand wing, and his performances whenever he has played hasn't always been the best. Do you see it as this season maybe being the beginning of the end of Morris's time at City?
Well, it's just not looking good, is it? He's really fallen out of favour in terms of minutes in the Premier League. He only really gets consistent minutes in Europe. And, well, after looking at his last two performances, last time out against Copenhagen, definitely want to forget. Didn't play well at all. Missed the penalty, got dragged off. And now here, he's in the first half, he was a passenger, wasn't he? Rarely saw the ball. In the second half, he had a chance to redeem it with a penalty. Once again, missed. It's not looking good for his time at Manchester City, and I can see him gradually being eased out of the lineup.
Here is Phil Foden for the Citizens, back towards Nathan Ake. Ake will look for some runners. Gets it in the form of Alvarez. That's a nice pass from the Dutchman. Alvarez away from Brandt, then tackled by Emre Can. Reina back now with Torgan Hazard. Is Schlotterbeck. Away from Alvarez, and his pass is poor though from the number 4. It will be a throw-in for Manchester City inside the Dortmund half. Do you see there being a goal in this game? Is it going to be a stalemate throughout the whole 90?
I'd hate to say we'd go into the 90th minute at 0-0. I think there's got to be a goal. There's too much quality on the pitch to allow this game to just run thin and both sides just sat at a stalemate. So I think maybe a couple of changes could be made, mainly in terms of Manchester City, like we've already mentioned, but Dortmund's lack of real game changers on the bench, really. You've got to look at the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Jack Grealish, them sort of players. They're the ones that you need to come on and just make a difference in the game. The changes at half-time haven't really done much.
Foden finding Ake, back now to Ruben Dias. Now in support is Rodri, finding Stones. Stones with the through ball towards Gundogan. Gundogan finding Rodri. Now towards the left-hand side in Bernardo Silva. Taking on Adeyemi. Twists, turns, goes back towards Ake. His through pass towards Foden. Will give it back towards the Dutchman once again. Focusing on just holding on to possession, keeping Dortmund moving from side to side. Still no sign of any other changes being readied up by either manager at this moment in time. As Rodri finds Stones, now with a Kanji. Here's Mahrez. Away from Hazard, finding Stones once more. Stones finding Phil Foden. Here's Bernardo Silva. Away from Adeyemi. Phones with the delivery. Headed away again by Mats Hummels, who's had a fantastic game in the centre of defence. Adeyemi can't quite keep it in play. It will be a throw-in for Manchester City. And, well, the away side, they are beginning to shut up shop defensively and are really limiting Dortmund to maybe a few seconds inside in the City half.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw in the first half, Dortmund really only enjoying any sort of luck on the counter-attack and trying to just force the City team into errors. It's carried on to the second half. He thought there might have been a goal coming, especially with the penalty. We thought there's no way this game ends 0-0, but City struggling to create. Dortmund with 11 men behind the ball and happy to set up shop. a draw at home against this Manchester City side would be great for them and their bids to get out of the group as Gundogan's through here.
Gundogan with the shot, took a big deflection off Schlotterbeck, and it took a bit of the pace off the effort. It was easily gathered in the end by Kerbel. Nice opportunity though that for City, and maybe the deflection could have wrong-footed a different goalkeeper if there was more space in between the shots, but in the end it's a decent enough save there by the shot stopper.
Yeah, it was, but Gundogan maybe should have looked for the square ball. Going from goal there, be some effort to beat the goalkeeper. I mean, the angle was so tight, you had to squeeze it in that near post, and I don't think it would have worked.
Silva with a delivery. It's behind Alvarez, falls to Mahrez, finding Alvarez again, and gets a shot away, saved by Kerbel. Foden tries to get an effort on goal as well. That's squandered. It will fall back to Bernardo Silva, who tries to get away from Adeyemi. Now with Foden once again, still the opportunity for City. Rodri lifts it into the area, trying to find Gundogan, headed up rather than away by Hazard. It'll be get further away by Reina. Now with Mahrez on the edge. Here is the Algerian, finding Stones, back now with Akanji. City shifted further away as Dortmund get players behind the ball. Foden to Ake, down the line again for Foden, under pressure from Niklas Süle. Back towards Ake once again, here's Rodri. Now with John Stones, attack still on for City. Akanji, now with Mahrez. Are they able to get the ball into the area? No, they're still going to play with it on the edge as Rodri floats it towards Mahrez. That might be overhit. Mahrez is really ready to go on the end of it. Can't find a man in sky blue. And finally, Kerbel can get two hands onto it.
Yeah, it's once again City just struggling to get over the line. It all started with that ball that fell pretty favourably to Phil Foden, but I don't know why he took a touch there. He's got to hit that first time. The fact that he's brought it down and the touch itself was poor as well. Kerbel came out, shut the angle up, did well to keep it on the pitch in the end, Foden, but when that ball comes through, I don't know why he hasn't got the instinct to just hit it. I mean, he's on the edge of the 6-yard box. Kerbel's stuck to his line. I don't know why he wouldn't shoot.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you there. There's a few more goals to tell you about. Coventry City have equalised against Rotherham, with Hamer getting the goal there, and PSG have increased their advantage back to 3 goals to make it PSG 5. That could be high for 2, and Kylian Mbappe gets his second of the game. So, the replay of that effort was just a very heavy touch from Phil Foden. Wonderful effort though by Alvarez, takes a little deflection as well, but keeper once again alert to the danger, but again not really having to stretch too far. Yes, he dives, but he actually makes a save pretty centrally.
Yeah, he does, but you just got to wonder whether Julian Alvarez was allowed to really set up a shot there. He sort of snatched at it, didn't he, the way it came to him. He was under pressure. I think he did really well with the effort that he managed to get away, but I think if he had maybe a second or so to just set himself up, he really could have found that corner.
Flick on by Süle, won't find a man in yellow and black. Ake makes the clearance. Hummels will hammer it back forward. We find Reina headed away by Akanji. Now Alvarez finding Riyad Mahrez over towards Bernardo Silva. Flick back towards Nathan Ake. Ake will find Akanji towards Mahrez on the right hand side. Mahrez finding support in the form of John Stones. Stones towards Rodri. Okay, again, down the left for Bernardo Silva. We have now passed the halfway point of this second half. It is Borussia Dortmund 0, Manchester City 0. It will be Harry Jones taking through to full time.
Yeah, Bernardo Silva not doing enough to get away from Adeyemi. Him and Bellingham linking up to try and clear the danger, but City have come back away with it. And it's back with Bernardo Silva. He cuts it back towards the edge of the box. Rodri, with his first touch, was heavy. Brandt will nick it away from him. And they'll have a chance to counter-attack now, Dortmund, with Adeyemi over on the right-hand side. He's found Moukoko back in towards Bellingham. Now they've got a little bit of an overlap down the right-hand side. Bellingham just slows things down. I think Dortmund are happy to just play how they are now. They're not in any rush to throw bodies forward, unlike Manchester City, as Rodri puts in a really good challenge on Brandt. And now City have been unlocked. Phil Foden has got a chance to take on his man. A really big sliding challenge comes in from Mats Hummels, and Bernardo Silva is bringing it further once more. Still moving with it, Bernardo Silva. Almost pushed over there by Süle, and Moukoko all the way back to help out defensively. He's been everywhere on the field today, despite being the lone striker. Brandt now out wide to Adeyemi, and it's back to walking pace in terms of a Dortmund standpoint, as AC Milan have gone even further ahead. They're running rampant as Robert Lubicic is the man to score the own goal for Zagreb, so definitely a night to forget for the Croats. And PSG are not done just yet. They're really taking the sword to Maccabi Haifa now as it's 6-2. Another own goal from Sean Goldberg from Maccabi Haifa to give PSG an even further lead, as a yellow card has been dished out to, I think, Ruben Diaz there, as he's just saying that Diaz's arm is in an unnatural position and the handball is given. Really dangerous position now for Dortmund, as it's actually Akanji, I think, the man who's been given the yellow card. I'm not sure if that's a yellow card offence.
I'm not even sure if it's Akanji that's been booked. I think it might be Rodri that's picked up, maybe for his remonstrations. We're still yet to have any confirmation of who the yellow card's gone to, so we'll of course get that to you once it is confirmed to us. But it does seem very harsh for the yellow card to be awarded to Akanji if that's the case. It is actually Manuel Akanji that has picked up the yellow card, so I think he can count himself very unfortunate that that's the case. But there is also a change being readied up. Donyell Malen is about to come on for Borussia Dortmund.
Donyell Malen to maybe make an impact here, as Karim Adeyemi is the man to make way. Adeyemi doing well in that sort of makeshift right wing back role that he's playing in. Interesting to see where Donyell Malen slots himself on the field, as that's the yellow card. I don't know how the referee has seen that as a deliberate play to stop the shot for going on target. Manuel Akanji's turned his back, his arm is raised, it is a handball. The yellow card, which would insinuate that he's done it on purpose. I have no idea where the referee has got that decision from. Nonetheless, they do have a free kick here. Borussia Dortmund, Torgan Hazard and Yusuf Moukoko both standing over the chance. Got a wall of their own ahead of the Manchester City wall. Do Dortmund, assuming they'll be going for goal here. Whoever will take it, it is going to be Torgan Hazard. He doesn't beat the wall though. Straight off the head of Rodri. Cross comes back in there from Mats Hummels. It's a really good one over the top of the defence, trying to pick out Sula, but just slightly overhit. Sula tried his best to get to it, but he headed out for a goal kick.
Yeah, it was a bit of a waste in the end from Borussia Dortmund. Everyone from Hazard was, to be fair, well blocked by the City wall. They all rose high for it, and well, to be brave, as we see Jack Grealish get ready to come on for Manchester City. And then the pass from Hummels, nice idea, just didn't have the required execution. Of course, confirmed that Rotherham are now 2-1 up against Coventry. Connor Washington has put the away side back in front.
Diaz now. Ake will receive possession over on the left-hand side to just edge forward slightly before back across the side of the pitch. Him and Ruben Diaz enjoying a bit of possession between the pair. They don't really look like a side who are rushing to grab a goal here. Manchester City happy to just play it from side to side before eventually a forward pass goes through to Gundogan, but he goes straight back once again. And City just struggling to get out here. This line of theirs not really supporting the attack too much. It being four central defenders across the back line, and fairly narrow formation, not really allowing any sort of overlap for the wingers. But here is Bernardo Silva out wide, stood up by the recent introduction, Marlon, towards Rodri. Bernardo Silva once again. Having to go back once again, Manchester City just squeezed further and further back by this Dortmund bank of 5 and a 4 ahead of it. With Akanji's got options down the line, does find Mahrez. Mahrez forced into going back once again. Now there's always that one ball forward, but then supported up with any sort of movement from Manchester City going forward. They're having to go back every time they do go forward, and it's becoming real stale in terms of their movement forward and very symmetrical in terms of how they're moving. It's very one-dimensional, not really giving themselves any sort of creativity. With now Ruben Diaz towards Akanji, in towards Stones now. He finds Rodri, and there is options out wide. Bernardo Silva's hugging the touchline. Can he be picked out here? Eventually, Ake does find him. He's forced into going backwards though, and goes across field in toward John Stones. Rodri sprays it out towards Akanji. Now they're eventually finding themselves in a bit more of an advanced position here now, City, as Gundogan does well to skip past a couple of challengers. It is with now John Stones. To find that ball out to the left. He does pick out Ake. Ake helps it on towards Foden. They've got options in the box, but they've got no real presence of height in the area, so crossing isn't really an option against those three mountainous defenders that
didn't feel kind enough to share them with us.
no, not at all. As the ball goes through towards Bernardo Silva, and he's claiming that should be a corner there, and I think he has got his wish. Manchester City get the corner. It was one splitting ball in behind the defence, and Bernardo was there and ready to pounce. But I think that's the first time the ball's gone off in about 10 minutes now, as Jack Grealish seemed to be stripped and ready to go. I think he must be bored on the touchline, as he was there ready to come on about 10 minutes ago, and now he finally does enter the field, and it will be Phil Foden who makes way.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised by that change. Foden has had an okay game, not a great one by any stretch of the imagination. And it gives an opportunity for a bit of a run out for Jack Grealish, who still really trying to find his feet in this City side. And it also looks like Anthony Modeste is getting ready to come on for Borussia Dortmund.
Modeste, hero in that game against Bayern Munich a few weeks ago. Can he be the hero today? He's replacing Torgan Hazard, and it seems like Wolf is the other man who is going to come on. As I say that, there's been a fourth goal in the game between the other game in Germany tonight. It's Leipzig 3, Real Madrid 1. Timo Werner getting on the score sheet for the side he rejoined this summer. Just waiting to see the confirmation on who Marius Wolf is going to be replacing.
Looks like it's a Youssef Makoko who's the other man coming off. So Wolf will go into the central midfield to replace Hazard, and it will be Modeste to go up top instead of Makoko.
Exactly that. Thank you very much. As hopefully we'll get the game back underway from the corner. He's Gundogan to stand over it. Lots of City players in and around the penalty area. It's a low-driven one. It's a really poor delivery there from Gundogan, but it still hasn't been cleared by Borussia Dortmund. Riyad Mahrez flicks the ball over towards the far side to maybe restart an attack. Bernardo Silva, very uncharacteristically, just boots the ball with no real aim, more of a percentage ball just to get it in the area. And it's something that we're not used to seeing from this Man City side, but you could say it worked, as they do have the throw-in over on the far side, deep in the Dortmund half. As we're just waiting for something. Yeah, the referee had the game stopped for a second, but no, we're back underway. Ake takes the throw-in towards Akanji now on halfway. Manchester City 68% possession, 32 for Dortmund. Marginally more shots on goal though, 10 attempts to Manchester City's 8. As Ake looks for a forward ball, does find Jack Grealish, the recent introduction. Can he work some of his magic that we've seen him do time and time again? Just for Man City, but for Aston Villa, which earned him his big money move to the Blues 2 seasons ago. As John Stones tries the ball over the top, does pick out Mahrez, takes it down beautifully with the first touch, back towards Gundogan, who has the shot on goal against his former side, but it just flashed over the crossbar, never really sat up too kindly, and he sort of just stabbed at it, and it was a poorly taken effort.
Yeah, you'd expect better there from Gundogan. Falls him pretty kindly on the edge of the area after a great crossfield pass to find Riyad Mahrez, and he just gets his foot underneath the shot and scoops over the crossbar. Never looked at one point to really trouble Kerbal in the Dortmund goal. Looks like it was actually offside anyway, so it wouldn't have counted, even if it did go on target. A couple of goals in the Championship to tell you about, both of them penalty spot, incidentally. Coventry have equalised against Rotherham via Victor Gyökeres, and Jay Rodriguez has given Burnley a late lead at home to Norwich.
Yeah, Borussia Dortmund looked like they were making inroads there on the City goal, but things were cleared pretty swiftly, and looked as though City might have had a chance to go and counter-attack the other end, but a good challenge coming in there from Emre Can, just cutting things up. So City will have the throw on the near side. It fell quite kindly to Brad, just tried to knock it over the head of Ruben Diaz, but it was good defending by the Portugueseman. City. John Stones is still lingering around that central midfield role, that defensive midfield role that he's been accustomed to so far this evening. It is now with Akanji, tries the ball over the top for Gundogan. He looks to bring it down. The first touch is very heavy, and Schlotterbeck will just squeeze him out of possession and just throw him to the ground like a ragdoll there from Schlotterbeck. Very rough and ready, and happy to go shoulder to shoulder as the ball goes over the top, looking for the run of Modeste, but Ake will pick it out, and now Grealish has a lot of space ahead of him. Will he look to take on his man here, Jack Grealish? He cuts in on the right foot. Ends up going backwards though, as there was no forward ball available. Rodri has Ake out wide, does use him. Ake to Grealish now, he's got Bernardo ahead of him. Back to a walking pace now, Jack Grealish, before eventually offloading to Bernardo Silva. City still in safe possession. Bernardo makes a splitting run behind the defence. Don't know if Grealish saw him or not, because he held onto the ball. Tries another splitting ball, does find Bernardo this time. Bernardo has the ball, tries a flash across the box, does pick out Mahrez at the back post though, and he's going to be stood up by Schlotterbeck. Back towards Akanji, who has the shot on goal, and Gundogan seemingly just stopping his own team from scoring there, and the offside flag will go up, I think, against Ilkay Gundogan. And well, if you don't think Manchester City are going to score tonight, they certainly won't, with their own players now even trying to stop.
Yes, it's just really been the sign of the game, isn't it? Mahrez does well to keep that in play, and it's the right pass. And well, I think Gundogan tries to get out of the way, just doesn't have the time to do it. And in the end, it goes comfortably away, and it was offside anyway, so it didn't really matter. Looks like we've got another change being made for Dortmund. Giovanni Reina being replaced by Antonios Papadopoulos.
Another change, and it's the fourth for Borussia Dortmund and Edin Terzic's side. Antonios Papadopoulos comes on to see out the remaining 4 or so minutes of normal time, and I can't see us having too much additional time, as I think the ball may have left the pitch even less in the first half, which I didn't know would have been possible with the way the first half went. It's been a very cagey affair between the two sides. Second half starved of chances, barring the glaring penalty that Manchester City missed in Riyad Mahrez, and that was a heavy challenge there that came in, and a yellow card will be distributed to Mats Hummels, the Dortmund captain, as PSG, well, if you didn't think they'd scored enough already, they've gone and grabbed a 7th, and Carlos Soler, I think, is the man who grabbed the goal. So the Spaniard getting the goal as Riyad Mahrez eventually leaves the field in what has been a night to forget for the Algerian. Just waiting for confirmation on who has just replaced him, as screens were fixated on Mats Hummels after his challenge, which earned him a yellow card. With Rodri now, he goes out wide to Ake. Ake helps it on to Jack Grealish. Ronaldo's there waiting, but he decides to cut back in field, goes back in towards Diaz. Diaz now to Akanji, and there's options out wide, but he tries a ball over the top, looking for the run in behind. I think it's Cole Palmer that came off Riyad Mahrez, and he was the man that was trying to be picked out by Manuel Akanji. So Palmer getting vital minutes in his quest for development in this Manchester City side. A real exciting talent they have on their hands there, Man City. So Kevin De Bruyne, not been utilised just yet. There's still time for him to come on, but if he does, it will be only for a brief cameo. Can't really see him having too much influence on the game, especially given how much time is left. But it's with Rodri. Bernardo Silva very deep here as he receives the ball. Twists and turns away from the incoming Anthony Modeste. It's a real size mismatch as Modeste looked to run down Bernardo Silva. Grealish back into Silva again. Helps it out towards Stones. He's got Akanji further on. He does use him. Cole Palmer's out wide in a nice bit of space. Looks to take on his man here. He decides to go back in towards Akanji. He goes into the feet of Jack Grealish. Now finds Palmer. This is a little bit better from Man City. They're moving the ball a bit more fluid. And Cole Palmer, that's lovely there to skip away from Wolf, but dispossessed there as his touch was slightly too heavy. But the clearance from Emre Can was picked up by Akanji. And City will knock on the door one more time with Nathan Ake. He was going up for a shot there, Ake, but he didn't. Decided to split it out towards Bernardo Silva. Now with Grealish. Under pressure there from Papadopoulos. Didn't let the man get anywhere near the ball though, and just like Manchester City haven't done for the last, obviously the best part of 20 minutes now, City have just moved it from left to right in such routine fashion that gets to a point where I think even the players are on autopilot as the ball goes over the top now. Eventually looking for Cole Palmer. Can he keep it in? He can do, but he can't steer it towards a teammate. It'll be a pretty easy catch for Kerbal.
Yeah, it will be. Hummels has picked up a yellow card as well in this one. Only got a few seconds remaining of the match during 90, and neither goalkeeper's been tested too much. Kerbal, the only time he's really been brought into action, bar that relatively simple save from Alvarez, was of course a penalty shot, which was well saved in regards to power, but not exactly good placement from Riyad Mahrez. 3 minutes amount of time been shown at the end of this one, which I'm not entirely sure where that has come from. And I wouldn't be surprised if we already see floods of fans exit the stadium, because it hasn't been a good watch from a neutral perspective.
No, it hasn't. Not quite the European classic that we maybe thought it could have been, given the drama in the first leg between the two sides in this season's Champions League. 5 goals scored in that game, and it was a real classic at the Etihad. This time, Germany not quite the same desired effect as. We'll have a free kick here for a high leg from Rodri, and they'll have a chance to maybe grab a late goal and flood the box with all that aerial ability that that they do possess. The three big centre-backs have all gone up. So Anthony Modeste in there now, and does deliver a ball into the box. It's a good header on, but can't direct it goal, which Schlotterbeck heads Anthony Modeste, I think, judging by the players' reaction, I think it was an offside, so a good step in the line for the Manchester City defence.
Yeah, everyone played a good line. Maybe John Stones almost completely fluffed his offside trap there, but it was well timed in the end from City, who quite comfortably defend that. We've got around a minute and a half remaining of this game. Can also confirm we've got our first full-time score of the Champions League 8-o'clock kickoffs. Dinamo Zagreb 0, AC Milan 4.
City with a throw in, Gundogan takes. A minute left to go now, so saying not much time for either side to grab anything from the game, but doesn't seem like any of the sides really wanted much from the game. Anything past the 70th minute or so. Both sides seemingly very happy to play for the draw and share the points in order to secure qualification for each other. As just looking at the standings, Dortmund haven't quite secured qualification, but looking at their head-to-head with Sevilla, it seems as though they are pretty much going to be guaranteed to go through. It will take a monumental collapse for the Yellow Wall to not progress to the knockout stages of the Champions League, as City move the ball from left to right now with a Kanji. He looks to go back infield towards Rodri. Helped it out towards Bernardo Silva. Options ahead of him, decides to turn back. Once again going backwards towards Nathan Ake. Gets it back, Bernardo Silva. A real attempt to play forward here, as he's almost at a standstill before the referee blows his whistle to signify the end of a very tedious 90 minutes between the top of the group and the second place, as all the points were shared this evening in Germany, as it finishes Manchester City 0, Dortmund 0.